Gubat Banwa, First Edition, by Makapatag, or Joaquin Kyle Saavedra, is finally out. If you have watched my previous video on the early access copy of Gubat Banwa, you probably have some grasp on the system and setting already, but there have been quite a few changes that, let's just start over again. Gubat Banwa is a grid-based tactical war drama tabletop RPG set within the Sword Isles, a region inspired by the refulgent cultures of Southeast Asia. It is now the final era, the 8th star era, the festival of the longest night. All of the warring realms, the Sultanate of Akai, the Lakanate of Verbanwa, the Rajanate of Gadasan, the Kingdom of Baby, and the Confederation of Apumbukid, are about to clash against each other in a great violence, the greatest war the Gubat Banwa, the land at war, will ever witness. Fortunately, or not, you are KADUNGGANAN, warrior braves and asura-knights who travel the Sword Isles to prove their conviction and dictate the fate of the world, and that is what you will do, prove your conviction, change the world, and rejoice in the glory of combat. So, what can you expect from Gubat Banwa? Well, it's not whatever the fuck this is, that's for sure. The setting as a whole is a Southeast Asian inspired fantasy setting from a Philippine-centric view. There's no elf and dwarf here, you have human, the KADUNGGANAN, also known as bamboo folk because in the setting, human came from bamboo, and when the first KADUNGGANAN was deceived to help an ancient devil to fight against the sky, the great eagle beat the gender into them as a punishment. There's also Iro, Kamakam, Lox Aman, Pulandokan, and Pakan, and you choose any of these friends, I mean folks, for your KADUNGGANAN. There's no stat benefit here, it's just who you are. There's more folks than these 6 too, just rarer, but if you want, nobody can stop you from picking a different folk. There's also an honor and debt system, integrated right into the game mechanic for players to demand others to do things or get things for them, as proper coinage does not exist in the Sword Isles. People instead barter with items or services. The reverse is true on the player's debt to others too, which you will start with 1, so it might just complicate things up when the person you own debt to demands something from you. And one last thing, I have mentioned the 5 big mandalas, or kingdoms, but they are only the biggest 5 polities out of the million within the Sword Isles, and even within the big 5, there's a lot of diverse subcultures for each of the mandala. What I'm trying to say is, much like Southeast Asia, there's a lot of different cultures within the Sword Isles, and there's a lot of spaces for you to add them in. Also, you can play solo in this game, more on that later. Anyway, I think it's time to actually talk about how to play the game. To start it off, you want all the dices, but for the most part you just need these 2, so the rest you can just use computerized ones or whatever. There's just one rolling system you really need to remember, which comes in 2 forms, casting the crocodile's teeth, and violence cast. Let's start with this one first. Casting the crocodile's teeth is narrative version of the roll. To settle narrative obstacle or action, you first roll d10 equal to 2 plus a selected alignment, which is basically your personality / essence of nature, and it comes in
fire, air, water, earth,
and metal. Those d10 are rolled against a number of d8 depending on how difficult the task is, which you could potentially change by using your debt, items, or whatever that is narratively appropriate. Then you check how many of those teeth, yes, teeth, not dice, rolled 6 and above. Any successful d10 is a hit, and getting 10 is a double hits, while any successful d8 is a miss. Then you add up the result and read the teeth, which can range from legendary success to dramatic failure. That could complicate things even more. Failure also gives you a Thunderbolt token, which you can also obtain by being dramatic as hell. This token can be used to upgrade your alignment teeth from non-hit to hit, so you might want to save these up for a rainy day. Speaking of alignment, you also have to pick conviction for your KADUNGGANAN. What the hell makes you go through hell for? The conviction you pick isn't just a part of your background, it will also directly affect how you roleplay your character, as going with your conviction, even to the detriment of others, earn you honor, while going against it make you lose honor, and if you lose too much honor, you have become a true villain and is now a NPC. Anyway, where was I? Right, violence, part 3, page 55. Yes, instead of combat or fight or battle, this tabletop RPG is just outright saying that, yes, you are performing violence, extremely. The combat system in Gubat Banwa is called Thundering Tactics Battle System, focuses on blisteringly quick martial arts in a grid environment that's usually 16 by 16, but can be 10 by 10 or 20 by 20. The goal of the system is to emphasize movements, actual or narratively, as the units on board will be moving a lot, and even off your turn, you will often find yourself still being a part of the game instead of just waiting. When in combat, you use your martial abilities instead, All except hit points can be changed by how you distribute your point as your legend. The level equivalent grows. Hit points are decided by what discipline you are using instead, more on that later. Bravery and posture are used for physical attack and defense, faith and resistance are used for faith attack and defense, while speed is, well, speed. The turn order in Gubat Banwa is called the rhythm. Instead of activating, you have unit fulminating to take their turn, which is. Once again, this game doesn't fuck around with its theme. Rhythm is then split into strikes, or rounds, and a strike always start with the NPC fulminating, then KADUNGGANAN, and repeats until next strike. When an unit fulminates, it gets 3 beats, which are basically actions. You might wonder, why 3? Well, let's take a look at one of my favorite grid-based tactical tabletop RPG. In combat, every unit has a standard move to, well, move, and 2 quick actions which can combine to form one full action. This makes it look like a unit only has 2 actions, but the reality is there's 3, it just that one could only be used to move. In Gubat Banwa, if the enemy is within optimum distance, like for example, in range of your fist, you can totally spend all of your beats to combo the shit out of them. And how do you beat up people? With the violence cast, of course. This book is just so raw about everything that Gordon Ramsay would come in and approve it, because raw feeling is precious, and raw chicken is poisonous. Don't fucking eat raw chicken. Once again, same mechanic as casting the crocodile's teeth, but replace alignment teeth with attack teeth, and difficulty teeth with defense teeth, and the hits you get after cancelling out the defense deal directly into damage. Basically, attack teeth represent flurry of blow, while defense teeth represent perfect parry. Even when you are being attacked, you are never idle. Thunderbolt token mechanic applies here too, upgrading non-hit to hit, and non-defend to defense. Also, if you have attacked multiple times in a fulmination, your attack gets weaker and weaker, and yes, this RPG has goddamn combo breaker mechanic, which also means that often, it's more important for your combo to deal status effects to your enemies than actual damage, which could be even more painful. Now of course, you will have this question, what can I use to attack with? Well, let's talk about disciplines. Disciplines are basically classes, full of techniques and martial arts for your KADUNGGANAN to devastate their foes with. Each discipline has traits that truly define itself, and inflict violences to attack your opponent with. Once again, straight to the bloody point, and also, they come in 3, and every discipline has a unique set, so even when you are comboing people with just these basic attacks, you won't feel bored. Every discipline also comes with 5 techniques which you can learn as your legend grows, 2 at every legend, to a maximum of 10 on field with more when you want to swap things out, and yes, you are free to take technique from any discipline to mix and match for your KADUNGGANAN, but you will still want 5 in at least one discipline to obtain the Enlightenment technique, which is basically a super move you can only use once per violence after a couple strikes and might also has special passive effect. Most technique can also be upgraded by expending more beat into them, dramatically enhancing its effect, so even the same technique can be wildly different once you put enough beats into them. And of course, the discipline themselves aren't your usual classes. The asura-knight is a sentinel class that sits on a giant raptor that can fly, protect their allies, and punish their foes with razor-sharp feather. The head taker is a raider class that sees combat as a ritual, shadow stepping through other to take the head they must cut. The barrel witch is a sharpshooter gun witch, combining black power firearm with occult magic to channel the power of the gun god. The war speaker is a witch class that masters the art of mystic mentala and razor logic to break their enemies' will and illusions of reality with words itself, and the strife singer is a medium class that uses instruments to sing, bolstering their allies and granting respite in this war-torn land. In total, there's currently 25 disciplines, each as interesting as the previous one. I haven't even talked about the Flat Fuck Friday, Literal Edgelord, Shadow the Hedgehog, Woman Fear Me Fish Wants Me, Goddamn Stand User, and Skybound Socialist. And if you feel like changing things up halfway in your journey, you can totally change your technique or even discipline through downtime action, the in-between time when you are not going out for venture, which also lets you mingle with people, barter with items, dive into complications, or just get fucking drunk, which is just dive into complications but you dive even harder. And that's everything on Gubat Banwa, a tactical war drama tabletop RPG set in the land at war. But what if you don't have enough friend to play a campaign with? Well, don't worry, because as I have mentioned before, Gubat Banwa has a solo mode, where the NPC can automate their beats through dice, and events can be determined through divination system and region event roll. Hell, with this system, you might not even need a GM, or Umalagad, so, What are you waiting for? You can get it now on itch.io and drive a through RPG. There's even free community copies on itch.io, but by the time this video comes out or as soon as this video comes out, this number might have reached single digit or less. And that's truly it for Gubat Banwa, first edition, a TTRPG I have been waiting for a long time already, so long, I have seen it changed multiple times with different attack mechanic just about every time. At one point I'm actually getting kinda annoyed and wanted to tell Makapatag to make up his mind, but you know what, if someone tell you that when you are working on your own TTRPG, tell them to fuck off because the very first person that should enjoy your TTRPG is you, everyone else is secondary. You have to enjoy your own writing that you have spent so much efforts on, otherwise what the hell are you even doing? You should have fun with it and throw your passion into it. Anyway, yes, I have been looking forward to read this for a long time and I'm thoroughly satisfied with it, though I really need to make it clear to you that the game is about the Filipinos and Southeast Asian, and at the same time the setting is very much not Southeast Asia, it is simply inspired by the many cultures and stories that have been through this land that has seen many changes, so if you are someone not from here, there are things you might not get on first glance. Still, I fully recommend Gubat Banwa simply because of how raw the setting is and how hyperkinetic the combat system feels, it just feels good. Anyway, that's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.